Welcome to episode 3 of Keeping Up with Ribs so far this season. I'm sorry I took a slight hiatus from YouTube, as I was focusing in on college, but we're back. We're watching NBA week in and week out. So sub to this page, like and comment, share this with a couple people. So help this channel grow. Help us get to where we want to get to. All right. And in this episode, we're going to talk about stars not diminishing. We're going to talk about Tyrese Halliburton quite possibly making NBA history. And we're going to talk about the Bucks hitting their stride. It's been great NBA basketball. Absolutely amazing NBA basketball. There's been a lot of injuries, a lot of tic-tac injuries, a lot of people missing games here and there. But two players that I want to focus on, two players who have been there, have been hooping, are over the age of 35, are still top 10 players in the NBA, are still both top 10 in scoring in the NBA. And let me put Steph Curry in that pot as well. These guys are older. These guys have been in the league for a while, since before some of these stars were even in high school. Yet Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry still remain at the top of the league. I wanted to do a little research, see how long these guys have been great. Do you know LeBron James hasn't averaged less than 25 points per game since his rookie year, where he averaged 20? Ever since then, 25 points per game. Kevin Durant hasn't averaged under 20 points per game. Neither has LeBron James in over a decade and a half. For LeBron James, 2 decades. That is ridiculous. Every person, every player that has been drafted around them, around that age, around the 04, 05, 06 draft class, and the 08, 09, 11 draft class, they're not stars anymore. There are few remaining stars from those guys' draft class. LeBron James, no one's left. And even the one that were left the past 5, 6 years of their careers, they were role players. But LeBron James has been a top 5 NBA player his entire career, over 21 years. Over 21 years. We've all heard about role players like the Mike Conleys, that have been in the league for a while because they can fit a role and they can do it perfectly. You know how hard it is to be the best player on your team for over 2 decades? To be one of the best players in the league for over 2 decades? To consistently have to have your team depend so heavily on you to be successful for over 2 decades. I mean, listen, and I was talking about LeBron James, but if Kevin Durant hasn't balled the way he has so far for the Phoenix Suns, they would have been down there with the Grizzlies. Because some of their younger guys in Beal, in Booker, their younger stars have been injured in and out of the lineup. But Kevin Durant has not only been there consistently, but he's been hooping. I mean, averaging stats that he's averaged over the past 15 years. And it amazes me. It blows my mind how these guys can remain so good over this long period of time. I just DMP with a plug. Shout out to him. Hopefully he sees it. That the NBA needs an expansion for the simple fact that there's so much talent in the league. And these players are better for a longer period of time. I mean, look at some of the guys that have been in the league for about 15 years. Mike Conley, DeRozan, Curry, KD. I mean, they're about 13, 14. Damian Lillard, Paul George, Kawhi, James Harden. These guys have been in the league for over a decade and are still hooping, are still top of the league. Some of the young stars can't even break away because of these players aren't going away. Tyrese Maxey was balling out of his mind this year. Had to take a back seat to James Harden last year. And even though some people are saying James Harden is diminishing, James Harden isn't the same player he was, he's still hooping. Absolutely hooping. Russell Westbrook is also in the league that's been here for a while. Brook Lopez has been in the league for a while. Damian Lillard, I don't know if I named these guys' names, but they've been in the league for a grit. And they're still hooping. Still playing basketball at a high level. But you see how Tyrese Maxey, who if given the opportunity that we've seen him getting this year, put up about 20 plus points per game and about 8 assists. That was your sitting third option on the Philadelphia Sixers last year. And there are players like that. Bradley Beal this year, who we've seen him average 30 points per game in a year, but now he's the third option on the team. The Clippers, I mean, we see the abundance of talents they have. We could put a star on every team and have like 40 teams, even though that's an exaggeration, but this league is in dire need of maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 3 teams to expand so that some of these younger stars could break out. Because it's hard We see guys getting drafted and almost going directly to the G League because there's so much talent in the league. First round picks, lottery picks, having to play in the G League for maybe 1 or 2 years because of the talent that surrounds them. I mean, the league is in great hands. It's going to be like, I can't even like, when are these guys going to digress? Do you see KD averaging less than 20 points per game ever? I don't see it because it's not like his game is predicated on athleticism. On unlike LeBron James, it's not athleticism. It isn't bounciness. It isn't explosiveness. There's a suave to his game. There's a rhythm to his game. He plays at his pace. He's in a using his length, taking advantage of his build, and he's doing so easily. Stephen Curry, I mean, he's a man. Like he's conditioned better than almost anyone in the league. At 33, 34 years old, LeBron James is conditioned better than almost anyone in the league. In the first week and a half, he was playing 40 minutes per game, just so the Lakers could have a chance at winning. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, when the Bulls were at full health, when he was about 32 years old, was in MVP conversations. The league the talent is incredible. The talent is absolutely incredible. We are like, I had so much fun watching NBA because some of these names, I mean, I remember being in middle school, being in high school, like, yo, LeBron James is about, like, he's on the tail end. Not the tail end, but he's going to retire in a couple years. I'm about to graduate college. And he's still hooping. I was in elementary school getting the KD 5s. And he's still hooping. He's on like the KD 16s now. I remember getting like the LeBron Soldier 7s in 6th grade. He's on like LeBron 22s now. Like these guys, like, I remember when James Harden first got his Adidas shoe. He's on his like 8th issue now. Like these guys aren't going anywhere. Their fame, their popularity isn't going anywhere. I mean, this longevity is great for the league. But the expansion is going to allow for some of the youngest guys to get some of their staying too. I mean, because there's budding stars that are just waiting for an opportunity to hoop, to play basketball. Mikal Bridges had to resort to being a 3-and-D player on the Phoenix Suns, but then he got traded to an opportunity where he can hoop, and we've seen what he did. There are players like this all over the league. Paul George talked about it, that he had to find his way. You know, he had to play defense just to get on the court so then he can show his talent. There are players like that waiting for an opportunity. There are 20-point per game scorers sitting on the bench, 8th in the rotation, 7th in the rotation, and we don't even know about them yet because they haven't gotten an opportunity. And I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but I mean, I've enjoyed watching these stars. I've enjoyed watching Damian Lillard shoot from 40 feet, 30 feet for over a decade. I mean, you see, I'm going to transition now into the Milwaukee Bucks. After losing back-to-back games to the Magic and the Pacers, they've been on a 5-game streak over the past week. Giannis is coming off 2 back-to-back 40-point games. Damian Lillard has averaged 28 and 10 over the past week. Brook Lopez has averaged 5 blocks over the past week and hasn't scored under 10 points since. Over the first 2 weeks, he was about 9-8 per game point scorer, 4 rebounds. But seemingly they have found their stride. They have found their stride, and it's been exciting watching this team play. No, yes, they're going to give up points. I mean, listen, defense isn't even in question nowadays. I'm going to talk about the Pacers and Hawks game soon. But you have Brook Lopez. It seems like everybody has gotten comfortable in their roles and in doing what they do, essentially. Giannis listen, in the first couple of weeks, they were, I don't know if I'm going to take my spot here. I'm not going to take my shot there. Maybe I should give it to Giannis. Giannis said, maybe I should give it to Lillard. This is a situation. Listen, I'm telling you one thing. I seen one of the ugliest plays of my life about a week and a half ago. Giannis had to resort to taking a last second shot clock, last second 3. Got the offensive rebound, stepped right back into the 3. Why are you doing that? You have Damian Lillard on your team at 12 seconds. Why are you doing that? But then recently, I seen a similar situation, and Giannis, instead of shooting it, handed it off, pick and roll, Damian Lillard, 3, top of the key. Simple things. They're learning how to play with each other now. They're learning. They're building that chemistry. Damian Lillard dishing out some of the most assists I've seen him ever average. Ever. Because he has an easy dump off. They're understanding how dominant they are as a duo now. They're playing like how they've been supposed to be playing. In the first couple of weeks, they were thinking too much. They were trying to defer to the other one. You have Brook Lopez, who, I mean, he seemed like even with Chris Middleton on a minutes restriction, even with the team not being as deep as it was, Brook Lopez not even wanting to shoot because he's saying, now I have 2 stars. I shouldn't be taking shots. Seeing Brook open in the corner, pump fake, give it to Lillard so that he can create. And now we're seeing Brook Lopez more confident in his shot. Understand him and Damian Lillard have built a great relationship as well. Because let me tell you one thing, Brook Lopez is number 1 in the league in shot interference at the rim. Number 1 at his age. Remember I said how the league and its longevity, yes, Brook Lopez, who wasn't a defender in Brooklyn, barely a defender in LA, was able to transform his game about since he joined Milwaukee. And boy, like this is great. The defense I've seen of him at the rim is, even though he's not the most mobile, he gets there. His IQ to make up for his lack of athleticism, it's been there. And anytime you go into the rim on the Bucks, you have Brook on the strong side guarding. Then you have the chance of getting swatted from behind, as Giannis is the best weak side defender in the NBA. That's how he won his Defensive Player of the Year. Being that good of a weak side defender. So you have the best shot contested, center in the league, who's going to contest the most shots, who's going to defer almost every shot at the rim. And then you have a 7-foot athletic freak that even if you are able to get around Brook Lopez, he can pin you off the backboard. So yes, the perimeter defense is what it is, but you're not scoring in the paint on the Milwaukee Bucks. It's been beautiful to watch that they've been able to do that low. It's been beautiful to see Brook Lopez understand that maybe Giannis isn't the 3-point shooter that I am. Maybe I should be the one running up sometimes to giving Damian Lillard the screens and pick and pop. Because let me tell you the one thing about Brook Lopez, not only can he hit the 3, but he can hit it from the range where he sets Damian Lillard picks at. Let me tell you what, if you're setting Damian Lillard a pick, you're setting it not at the 3-point line. You're setting it 5 feet behind that because that's his range. But let me tell you one thing, something that people don't really know about Brook Lopez, he can also hit from that range. So I'm seeing Brook Lopez. This is how hard it's getting to guard the Bucks nowadays. I'm seeing defenders 5 feet from the 3-point line, while Damian Lillard isos them, and then you have a center coming up on the screen that can hit a shot from that same range. That is what's been happening with the Bucks now, and they're understanding that there's a better flow to their game. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Damian Lillard have stretches where he's been averaging 28 and 10. But now we're getting 2 players per game that are putting up over the last week 30 points per game. Close, 28, right there. Brook Lopez, 5 blocks per game over the past week. Chris Middleton, once he gets back into the swing of things, they have their 3rd star on minutes restrictions. I mean, I know he's not going to be able to play defense the way he once did, but the shots alone, if the team is trying to take, Damian Lillard and Giannis and ice that, Brook and Chris are players that can compensate for that. They're that good. And once Chris Middleton gets off his minutes restriction, this team is scary. But we're going to see tonight. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I usually record on Tuesday nights. We're recording this today on Wednesday as it's going to drop. They play the Celtics, who, I mean, Drew Holiday just came out and said he doesn't have any animosity towards the Bucks. He just wish he got a heads up for the trade. And I understand him. I mean, he said he wants to retire there. He's someone who's comfortable, someone who, once he's with the team, it seems like he's going to re-sign every time. That's just kind of the player he is. He was ready to re-sign, spend the rest of his career with the Bucks, and they just traded him out, letting him know, even though he was a crucial piece to their ring. But today's going to be a good game. Brook and KP, Drew and Dame, Giannis and Tatum. And then you add in Jaylen Brown, Derek White. That's what makes the Celtics dangerous. The fact that they can match up star power with almost anybody, and they still have players to spare. And they still, Derek White, who is the best role player in the NBA. The best role player in the NBA. There's nothing that he cannot do. He's not scared to guard a big in the post. Let's tell you one thing, he's gonna hound him. Even though he might get backed up, he's gonna reach maybe 5, 6 times before you even put a shot up. It's not bigs, even though they're posting up and they got the smaller defender on them. They're not comfortable. He makes everybody uncomfortable, which is a good thing. He's willing to make the three when the other stars aren't going, when they're on the bench. There was a game, it was versus the Sixers about a week ago, where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were on the bench and they were resting early fourth quarter. Derek White scored 15 points in that span. 15 points. So now you can kind of stagger your rotations to the point where there's always someone on the court who can give you buckets, who can score 20, 25 points a night. Every person in the starting five has the ability to do that. That is scary. That is absolutely scary. Then you have Jason Tatum, who can do almost everything on the court, who seems like he's elevated his game even more this year. Because it seems even his shots aren't going. Let me tell you one thing: his shots ain't going nowhere. You can have Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James all in their prime. His shots aren't going anywhere because that's how confident he is in his game. That's how much he demands being the leader, not vocally, but just through his play. He plays defense. He sits down in the chair when he needs to. He's all like Giannis, like I described. He's a really good weak side defender. But the one thing that's his 3-point shot is amazing. I mean, Jason Tatum is one of my favorite players in the league to watch him play. Because seemingly anybody put on him is a mismatch. Anybody double team, it still feels like a mismatch. But the great thing about this Celtics team, the thing that separates them, you can't double anybody. You cannot double Kristaps in the post. Because there's always someone in the corner that can make a shot. You can't double team Jason Tatum. Because then he's dumping it off to KP. And once your team rotates that way, he's swinging it to Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown, or whether it's Jaylen Brown, whether it's Drew Holiday, whether it's Derek White, they're going to hit that shot. They all have the ability to put the ball on the floor. There are 4 guys in that lineup that can ISO. Put the ball on the floor and dribble. And you have a center who can hit threes, who attacks the rim, who blocks shots. Listen, Celtics are exciting. So if you watch NBA and you're excited in the NBA, not just clips, not just House of Highlights, not just YouTube videos, and watching the games, you better be watching the game tonight. You better be seeing the Celtics and Bucks tonight because that game's going to be exciting. But now let's get on to my guy, Tyrese Halliburton. My goodness, I'm facing him in fantasy. I'm going against Tyrese Halliburton in fantasy this week. He just dropped 90 fantasy points. You want to know why? He almost had 40 and 20. 40 and 20. I mean, the game went, I think, almost 160, 159 to 157, something like that. But that third quarter, where it seems though the Hawks were running away with it. The Hawks were up like 16, 18. Celtic, the Pacers that make a shot, 2 shots in a row. And here comes Jalen Johnson. Here comes DeJounte. Here comes Trey Brown hitting a 3. Slowing them down. Then Tyrese Halliburton, in a span of like maybe 4 or 5 minutes, erased the lead himself. Pulling from 30. From deep. Getting guys open. Within like 3 minutes, he wiped that lead. And then from there, they just attacked. They just went crazy. I mean, that game was wild. See, like, I'm seeing guys go at Miles Turner. Everyone was getting attacked. Everyone was getting. That was crazy. I'm at a loss for words right now. Now I want to focus on Tyrese. Even though I said something about the game, I want to focus on Tyrese. The last player to average 25 and 10 over a span of a season was a person he was going against in Trae Young. But the difference between Trae Young and Tyrese is efficiency. Efficiency. We're seeing Tyrese shoot over 40% from 3 and almost 50% from the field. So not only is he one of the higher usage rate players in the NBA, he's doing so effectively. Because Trae Young was doing that and the team was not winning games. The team offense looks bad. He was getting his. But the thing about Tyrese is it's a full team effort. Tyrese is moving off the ball. One thing that Trae Young didn't do. He's shooting it off the catch. It's not just ISOs. It's the team ball that they play with. Benedict Mathurin, isoing, and we know he's even at his young age, he's one of the best, foul baiters in the NBA. And then you have two people crashing, and then you swing to the corner, and they swing to Tyrese, and he's hitting it almost every single time. But a couple people before that averaged 25 and 10, prime Harden, prime Westbrook, LeBron James, I think 2 years ago with the Lakers, and then just Oscar Robertson. No one has ever averaged 25 and 12. No one. Tyrese right now is averaging 24.5 and 12 assists. What he is doing in Indy right now is ridiculous. It's some of the funnest basketball to watch. Not this week, though. Not this week. Because I'm facing him in fantasy. So I'm going to need him to stub a toe. The turkey don't hit right and he need to take a game off. I need him to do something. Because the way he's hooping right now, I don't see a chance I win this week. But boy, just as an NBA fan, no strings attached, no money attached. Because when it comes to betting, people don't even watch the game the same way. Just watch Tyrese Halliburton. How great he is. How easy the game flows for him. I mean, I was a fan of Tyrese before this because, I watch sports. I love sports. I watch podcasts. And listen to him on Old Man in the Three. Him and Tyrese Maxey were two guys that I became fans of early. Just because just hearing them, just talking to them. They were exciting. They were fun. Just, knowing his backstory from Iowa State, being super skinny, the weird jump shot, all of that. It was amazing. And to see him ever since that trade, listen, because I also subscribed to King of the Fourth Quarter. He was a big fan of him and talked about, how when him and De'Aaron were on the court, they were both good, but when they were played separate, they were both stars. So Tyrese Halliburton had it in him. Now imagine if he never got traded. That'd be another case of a player who, because they had this abundance of talent, he wasn't able to break out. He wasn't able to be the star that he is today. But today, as of right now, he's the best guard in the Eastern Conference. One of the best point guards in the league. If this Pacers team can play a little better, win a couple more games, he's an MVP candidate. I mean, I apologize because I don't see how anybody contests with what Nikola Jokic has done this year. Because I'm almost 30 points per game. That's one thing about his game, that he more average than the lower 20s, almost 30 points per game from Jokic. But Tyrese, I mean, he's been amazing. He's been fun to watch. Like, this season has been fun. Let me say that this season has been absolutely amazing. But now to close, get into the ending of this show, I want to talk about some smaller topics because maybe not as many people are tuned in at this point in the episode. So I just want to talk about some smaller things that happened this season. The two most positions that the Grizzlies are at the most dire in, that they need the most, are the two positions they let go, or the two players they let go. Yes, I know you trade Tyus Jones to get Marcus Smart, but this team needs a playmaker more than ever. This team needs a floor setter more than ever, and you don't have that. One thing you also don't have, you have a 6'4" small forward. You don't have a perimeter defender. And you scapegoated Dillon Brooks, who I know sometimes can be a little annoying, sometimes can be a little distracting, but the biggest distraction of your team is your star. So whatever Dillon Brooks is doing is just whatever. Dillon Brooks guards the best play in such a star-studded league. You don't have a person that can just guard the best player and slow them down, because you don't stop NBA stars. You slow them down, and on occasions you can stop them. He is the amount of people that he's been able to guard and guard effectively and get in their heads. Because let me tell you one thing: every time a star plays him, they make it their mission to try to find him, But that's what he wants you to do. He wants you to find him. He wants you to come to the best defender on the team. Not too many people realize that. He wants to take on that matchup because he doesn't want you. He doesn't want you trying to score on John Morant, trying to score on Desmond Bane. He wants you to get so irritated with him that you want to score on him, and he's right there, the best perimeter defender on the team. And we're seeing that with the Rockets. We're seeing him being irritant, guarding the perimeter, hitting the three when he needs to. Tyus Jones, who hasn't been able to do much, for the simple fact that you have two shot chuckers on that team. But I mean, just last year over the past 2 years, he was one of the best assist to turnover ratios in assist. My goodness, assist to turnover ratio players in the league. In the league, and you need that because you just see his offense, and it's just pass, shot fake, ISO, pass, shot fake, ISO, brick, back on defense, and it's like it's hard to watch. It is hard to watch. And I know this team all direly needs Steven Adams, who got injured again. And have Bismack out there right now, who's hooping. I mean, he's hooping. But boy, they desperately needed those two players that they had on their roster that year. Because they ain't looking pretty. Another thing that hasn't looked too pretty are the Dallas Mavericks against good teams over 500. Did you know that the Dallas Mavericks in their 4 games against team over 500 in this young season are 1-3? And the one team they did beat were the Magics, who were missing 2 starters that night. 2 starters. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, a team can't guard anyone. I mean, simply put it, they're not a team that hangs their hat on defense, even though they have a defensive coach. Even though they have some guys who can buy in on defense. A team that doesn't have Dorian Finney-Smith anymore. They're missing a wing defender. Grant Williams is good, but he can't guard anyone that's relatively fast, that's relatively shifty. If this team still had Dorian Finney-Smith, and I know they made that trade and they got Kyrie Irving, and that's the guy you want next to Luka. Kyrie Irving's numbers are down a bit this year, and they're not as great as Kyrie just averaged 28 last year. But I mean, you don't need to do that when you have Luka being one of the best players in the NBA. Luka doesn't. I mean, his usage rate is almost 40%. Like it's a lot. And this team gets into a lot of high score games, and sometimes when you have an off night, you can't really keep up. Because the one thing about the Pacers and their offense is that it runs like, I don't know, it runs like seamlessly, if I can explain it. I can't really explain it well. There just isn't no seamlessness. It seems as though people are so dependent on Luka. And if it came other than Tim Hardaway is going to get his regardless. But if Luka isn't having his best game, everyone's lost. I guess that kudos to Luka about how much he affects his team. But not looking to finish. But I'm just rambling a little bit now. So we're gonna end it here. It's been your boy B-Riv. Episode 3. Continue watching, continue tuning in, continue having fun, support and share this video. As always, God bless. See ya.